In a universe where no one dared defy the Tok-Tok's tyrannical reign, one human rebel rose from the shadows to challenge an alien king. Nicholas Ramos, once a lowly servant in King Zephyr's grand palace on planet Xylox, witnessed the Tok-Tok's cruelty and oppression firsthand. For years, the technologically advanced Tok-Tok had subjugated countless races, including humanity, with an iron fist. Any hint of dissent was swiftly crushed. But as Nicholas watched the king's decadence and the elite's lavish excesses, all funded by the slaves' backbreaking labor, a spark of rebellion ignited within him. Through his position in the palace, Nicholas noticed cracks in the Tok-Tok's facade of invincibility. Resentment brewed among the oppressed races, and even some Tok-Tok grew uneasy with Zephyr's erratic brutality. Nicholas realized that he, a mere human, held the key to revolution. Cautiously, he began building a network of like-minded rebels right under the king's nose. But when a spy betrayed them, Zephyr's forces ambushed their clandestine meeting in a bloody raid. Barely escaping with his life, Nicholas fled into the void of space in a stolen Tok-Tok ship, a lone human rebel against a galactic tyrant. But as he hurtled through the stars, grim resolve hardened in Nicholas's heart. There could be no turning back now. Humanity's future and the fate of all oppressed races hinged on open rebellion. This once lowly servant would have to become the face of revolution, the only one to stand against King Zephyr and bring his cruel reign crashing down, or die trying. In the brewing storm of resistance, the galaxy itself hung in the balance. Adrift in the void, Nicholas Ramos guided his stolen Tok-Tok ship through the lawless fringes of the galaxy. Out here, far from the iron grip of King Zephyr's rule, rebels and outlaws found refuge in secret outposts scattered among the stars. Nicholas set his course for one such haven, a seedy space station known as Zax's Haven. As he docked his ship and stepped into the grimy, dimly lit corridors of the station, Nicholas felt the weight of countless alien eyes upon him. Beings from a dozen subjugated races mingled in the shadows, united by their shared hatred for the Tok-Tok. Nicholas made his way to the central bar, where a Bajoran female in battle-scarred armor caught his eye. She met his gaze with a fierce intensity, seeming to size him up. "You're the human who escaped Xylox," she said, her voice low and sharp. "I'm Kira. I've been waiting for someone like you." Nicholas nodded, sliding into the seat beside her. "I aim to do more than escape. The Tok-Tok's reign ends now. I'm building a rebellion to take down King Zephyr himself." A flicker of interest sparked in Kira's eyes. "Bold words, human, but you'll need more than words to defeat the Tok-Tok." She leaned in closer. "Lucky for you, I have connections, allies who can help." Over the next hours, Kira introduced Nicholas to her network of contacts. There was Zix, a brilliant Keltarian hacker who could slice through the most secure Tok-Tok systems, and Jack Reyes, a battle-hardened human mercenary with a deep-seated grudge against Zephyr. Together, they began to lay the groundwork for rebellion. But even in the fringes, the rebels couldn't escape the Tok-Tok's vast reach. With advanced technology that could track communications across the galaxy, they were forced to rely on covert meetings and coded messages. Supplies were scarce, and they resorted to daring raids on Tok-Tok outposts to acquire vital resources. During one such raid, as alarms blared and energy bolts sizzled past, Nicholas spotted a captive Veluxian slave named Arya. In a split-second decision, he broke from the plan and raced to free her. As Tok-Tok guards closed in, Nicholas's quick thinking and bold actions saved both their lives. Arya pledged herself to the rebel cause on the spot, her eyes shining with newfound hope. Whispers of the growing rebellion spread like wildfire among the oppressed races. More and more flocked to join Nicholas's ragtag resistance. But their success did not go unnoticed. On Xylox, a paranoid King Zephyr seethed with rage. He tightened his iron grip, deploying more shadow guard to the cities, cracking down on any hint of dissent. In a brutal show of force, Zephyr made a public example of a prominent Veluxian leader accused of aiding the rebels. As the unfortunate soul was vaporized before a horrified crowd, the king's message rang out clear. All who defied him would meet the same grim fate. But Nicholas and his allies remained undeterred. They retreated to the remote, uncharted world of Nexus Prime and established a hidden base shielded from Tok-Tok sensors. From this secret stronghold, they launched strategic strikes to weaken Zephyr's regime, with Nicholas leading a daring assault on a critical Tok-Tok supply depot. It was a resounding blow to the king's forces and a beacon of hope to the downtrodden. With every victory, however, the risk compounded. Nicholas knew each defiant act painted a bigger target on the rebels' backs. Zephyr grew more unhinged and ruthless by the day, lashing out with all his might. The rebellion's survival hinged on speed, secrecy, and cunning. The slightest misstep could doom them all. But this ragtag resistance had come too far to turn back now. The dream of a galaxy freed from Tok-Tok chains drove them inexorably onward into the jaws of danger. For Nicholas Ramos, once a mere palace servant, there was no other choice. He would see this through to whatever end and pay any price to ignite the flames of revolution across the stars. Nicholas Ramos crouched behind a twisted hunk of metal, his breath coming in short gasps as energy bolts sizzled overhead. The acrid stench of ozone filled his nostrils as he peered around the debris, surveying the chaos of the battlefield. "Kira, status report," he barked into his comm unit. "We've breached the outer defenses," came the Bajoran's terse reply. "Zix is working on the security systems now. ETA 2 minutes. Nicholas nodded, though Kira couldn't see him. He glanced at Jack Reyes, who was providing covering fire with deadly precision. "Jack, keep them pinned down. We move on Zix's signal." The human mercenary grunted in acknowledgement, his face set in grim concentration as he unleashed another barrage. Suddenly, Nicholas's comm crackled to life. "I'm in," Zix's voice announced. "Security grid is down. You have a clear path to the central lab." "Now!" Nicholas shouted, vaulting over his cover. He sprinted across the scorched earth, dodging energy bolts as he made for the facility's entrance. Kira fell in beside him, her battle-worn armor gleaming dully in the harsh light. They burst into the sterile white corridors of the research facility, alarms blaring all around them. Nicholas's heart pounded in his ears as they raced toward the central lab, guided by the facility schematics Zix had uploaded to their visors. As they rounded the final corner, an imposing figure blocked their path. The Tok-Tok scientist, Dr. Zarkul, stood before the lab entrance, a cruel smile twisting his alien features. "You're too late, human," Zarkul sneered. "The weapon is already operational. King Zephyr will crush your pitiful rebellion like the insects you are." Nicholas's blood ran cold, but he kept his voice steady. "We'll see about that." Zarkul raised a sleek alien device. Energy crackled around it, the air itself seeming to warp and twist. "Nicholas, move!" Kira shouted, tackling him to the ground as a pulse of energy tore through the space where he'd been standing. The battle that ensued was fierce and desperate. Nicholas and Kira fought with everything they had, their movements a deadly dance as they dodged Zarkul's attacks and tried to close the distance. A lucky shot from Kira's blaster caught Zarkul in the shoulder, sending him staggering back. Nicholas seized the opportunity, lunging forward and wrenching the weapon from the scientist's grasp. "Zix, we've got it!" Nicholas shouted into his comm. "Start the download!" But their victory was short-lived. As Zix began transmitting the weapon's schematics, a stray energy bolt caught him in the chest. The Keltarian hacker crumpled to the ground with a pained cry. "Zix!" Kira rushed to his side, her face pale with worry. Nicholas's mind raced. They needed to get out, and fast. But Zix's wound was beyond their ability to treat. "We need a medic," Nicholas growled, frustration and fear warring within him. Kira's eyes widened. "I know someone. A Tok-Tok, believe it or not. He's been helping smuggle refugees off-world. If anyone can help Zix, it's him." Nicholas hesitated for a split second, weighing the risks. But one look at Zix's pale face made the decision for him. "Do it," he ordered. As they fled the facility, Zix's life hanging in the balance, Nicholas clutched the stolen weapon schematics close. They'd struck a blow against King Zephyr today. But at what cost, and what new challenges awaited them in the uncertain days ahead? Nicholas's fingers tightened around the stolen weapon schematics as the rebel team's stolen shuttle streaked away from the research facility. Zix's labored breathing filled the cramped cabin, his skin ashen beneath Kira's worried gaze. "ETA to rendezvous point?" Nicholas asked, his voice taut. Jack Reyes glanced at the nav console. 10 minutes. Your Tok contact better be there, Kira." The Bajoran nodded grimly. "He will be." As promised, a sleek medical transport awaited them at the designated coordinates. A tall, lanky Tok emerged, his movements fluid and purposeful as he boarded their shuttle. "I am Dr. Tilcor," he announced, kneeling beside Zix. "Let's see what we have here." Nicholas watched, muscles coiled with tension, as Tilcor worked. The doctor's long fingers danced over unfamiliar medical equipment, murmuring soft commands in the sibilant Tok language. After what felt like an eternity, Tilcor straightened. "He will live, but he needs time to recover." Relief washed over Nicholas, quickly replaced by unshakable focus. He turned to the others. "We've dealt Zephyr a blow, but it's not enough. It's time to take the fight to him directly." Kira's eyes widened. "You can't mean—" Nicholas nodded. "We're going to Xylox, to the palace itself." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of feverish planning and preparation. Intelligence reports flowed in from their growing network of sympathizers. Supplies were stockpiled, strategies debated late into the night. Through it all, Nicholas drove them relentlessly forward, acutely aware of the stakes. Finally, the day arrived. Nicholas stood on the bridge of their commandeered warship, watching Xylox grow larger in the view screen. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "All teams, report in," he ordered. One by one, the strike force leaders confirmed their readiness. Jack Reyes and Arya commanding the diversionary attacks. Zix, now fully recovered, manning their cybersecurity hub. Kira and Tilcor ready to join Nicholas on the infiltration team. "This is it," Nicholas said, his voice carrying across the comms. "Launch!" Chaos erupted across Xylox's orbit as rebel ships engaged the planetary defenses. Under cover of the fierce space battle, Nicholas's team slipped through in a cloaked shuttle, aiming for a concealed access point Tilcor had identified. They touched down in a maintenance bay, the sounds of distant alarms echoing through the cavernous space. Nicholas led the way, his steps swift and sure as they navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the palace. A patrol of Shadow Guard rounded a corner ahead. Nicholas's team flattened themselves against the walls, hardly daring to breathe as the black armored troops marched past. Once clear, they pressed on, guided by Tilcor's intimate knowledge of the palace layout. They were mere corridors away from the throne room when disaster struck. A hidden sensor triggered, filling the hallway with pulsing red light. The wail of alarms drowned out Zix's curse as he furiously worked his hacking equipment. "More Shadow Guard incoming," Kira hissed, her blaster at the ready. Tilcor's face set in grim perseverance. "Go," he said. "I'll hold them off. Get to Zephyr." Before Nicholas could protest, the Tok doctor charged down the corridor, drawing the guards' fire. Heart pounding, Nicholas led the others onward, Tilcor's defiant shouts fading behind them. They burst into the throne room, immediately met by a hail of energy bolts from the waiting sentinels. Nicholas dove for cover, catching glimpses of Zephyr's sneering face beyond the robotic guardians. The battle that followed was brutal and chaotic. Kira's precise shots found weak points in Sentinel armor. Zix's hacking attempts disrupted their coordination. But one by one, Nicholas watched his allies fall. Alone, battered, and surrounded by the smoking husks of defeated sentinels, Nicholas faced the Mad King. Zephyr's laughter rang out, cold and mocking. "Did you really think you could challenge me, human?" The Tok ruler taunted, raising a crackling energy weapon. "I am eternal. I am power itself." Nicholas's eyes darted around the ravaged throne room, mind racing. His gaze settled on a familiar power conduit, identical to those in the research facility they'd raided weeks ago. With a desperate gamble, Nicholas charged straight at Zephyr. The king's eyes widened in shock, his shot going wide. Nicholas tackled him, sending them both crashing into the conduit. Energy surged, overloading the remaining sentinels in a spectacular chain reaction. When the smoke cleared, Nicholas stood over the fallen Zephyr. The once mighty king lay broken, his alien features twisted in pain and fury. "Do it," Zephyr spat. "Finish what you started, human." Nicholas's hand tightened on his weapon, every fiber of his being crying out for vengeance. But as he looked down at his defeated foe, he saw not a tyrant, but a pitiful, broken creature. "No," Nicholas said, lowering his blaster. "This ends now, but not with more death." The throne room doors burst open, palace guards flooding in with weapons raised. Nicholas helped his injured comrades to their feet, backing towards an emergency escape hatch. "This isn't over," Zephyr howled as Nicholas's team disappeared into the depths of the palace. They fought their way to a hangar, commandeering a sleek Tok-Tok shuttle. As they soared away from Xylox, reports flooded in from across the sector. News of Zephyr's defeat spread like wildfire, sparking uprisings on a dozen worlds. Nicholas slumped in the pilot's seat, exhaustion finally catching up with him. He'd won the battle, but as the messages poured in, he realized the real challenge was just beginning. Nicholas leaned back in his chair, the weight of leadership heavy on his shoulders. The view screen before him displayed a chaotic montage of reports from across the galaxy. Riots on Xylox, insurgencies on a dozen outer rim worlds, Tok-Tok loyalists clashing with former rebels in the streets of 100 cities. He rubbed his temples, fighting off a persistent headache. "Zix, give me an update on the Centauri sector." The Keltarian's tentacles danced over his console. "Not good, Nicholas. Warlord Khazgul has seized control of 3 major trade hubs. Our allies there are barely holding on." A sharp knock at the door interrupted them. Kira strode in, her face set in hard lines. "We need to talk about the Tok-Tok prisoners." Nicholas tensed, recognizing the steel in her voice. "What about them?" "They should be punished," Kira growled. "Made an example of. We can't just let them walk free after everything they've done." "We're not going to stoop to their level," Nicholas countered. "Our goal is justice, not vengeance." Kira's eyes flashed. "Tell that to the families of those who died in the labor camps, to the children orphaned by Zephyr's purges." The argument spiraled, voices rising. Jack Reyes joined in, backing Kira's hardline stance. Nicholas found himself increasingly isolated, his calls for moderation falling on deaf ears. Days blurred into weeks. For every fire Nicholas managed to extinguish, 2 more flared up. The dream of a unified, peaceful galaxy slipped further from his grasp with each passing hour. It all came to a head on a rainy afternoon on New Terra. Nicholas was addressing a crowd of human colonists when the first shot rang out. Pain exploded in his shoulder as he crumpled to the ground. Chaos erupted. He awoke in a sterile medical bay, Zix hovering anxiously nearby. "You were lucky," the Keltarian said. "The assassin missed your heart by millimeters." Nicholas struggled to sit up, wincing at the pain. "Who was it?" Zix's tentacles writhed nervously. "We don't know, but Nicholas, there's something else. Kira's gone, and she took the data on the Tok-Tok superweapon with her." Ice gripped Nicholas's heart. He knew with grim certainty what he had to do. One last mission to save all of the galaxy from itself. He assembled a small team. Jack Reyes, despite their recent conflicts, Arya, the silent Adonian sniper, and Zix, whose hacking skills would be crucial. Their pursuit of Kira took them to the far reaches of known space, a desolate world of harsh winds and jagged stone. As they approached Kira's hidden base, Nicholas felt a deep weariness settle into his bones. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. Not like this. The fortress loomed before them, a jagged scar against the bleak landscape. Nicholas took a deep breath, steadying himself for what lay ahead. "Let's finish this," he said quietly, leading his team towards the inevitable confrontation.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.